Getting proper mental health care can help you feel more like you. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, insomnia, relationship issues, workplace stress, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can use your FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
Hi, it's Dave here. I'm with my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
And we are here with very special guest, my friend and director, horror director, Alex Matheson.
Oh, too kind.
You are a horror director.
Yes, I am. I am. Maybe not a good one, but
you direct horror
I'm
movies.
trying every day.
And he's modest. So modest. So we brought Alex on. Well, basically, this was your choice, Alex. We said we want to bring you on the Cinemile. What do you want to see? And you said...
Hereditary.
So you picked the most gruesome, terrifying movie of the year, I think is what people are saying.
Yeah, the hype of this film, the posters alone are suggesting this is a landmark in horror.
Yeah.
Now, that excites me. So that's what I'm all about. I just want to know if this thing delivers. I got to know.
Expectations are high,
Yeah,
I think.
Scarily high, worryingly high for me.
Yeah, but I fear for this because
This generation's Exorcist. I'm like, whoa, big
I
guns.
know, it's
That's
like-
a big guns. You just like, yeah, I'm worried about that. But very excited.
Crucially, we don't... me and Kathy have been deliberately avoiding anything about this. We don't really know anything about it. You've seen the trailer, Alex.
Yeah,
we haven't even seen that.
I've seen the trailer. I've heard that the director is pretty much his first big film. I think he's done a few little things. And I love Tony
Just like
Collette.
you. This is going to be you in 5 years.
Yeah, that's
And we're gonna be
the
like-
dream.
And everyone will be like, I think his name's Alex Matheson. He's done a few small things. He was on that podcast. What was it called?
The cinema?
Yeah. They've gone bankrupt now.
Well, I love Toni Collette. I do know she's
Yeah.
in it. But horror, I'm excited to watch your movies, Alex, which I haven't seen yet. But I'm so excited. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. I'm so terrified to see this movie because I don't watch horror movies. It's the one genre I don't watch because I get too scared. So even on this podcast, we've done 110 episodes, and have we only ever done one horror movie, The Exorcist?
We did The Exorcist, and this is this generation's Exorcist.
Yeah.
So we're tying
It's
it
the
up.
sequel.
Yeah.
And The Exorcist,
The next
let's
generation.
face it, is a very, very, very good movie, but I wouldn't say that it was the scariest movie
Did
I've
you
ever
see it
seen.
at home in...
At home on DVD.
Yeah, see,
yeah.
I think when horror is best, it's in the cinema.
Yeah.
And when I saw Get Out in the cinema, I kept looking at the crowd and just going, I wish I could make an audience do what this guy's done. He owned everyone in the
We
cinema.
saw that at home. We didn't do a podcast
It's
episode, but
just-
we watched that at home.
Kathy won't let me go to horror movies.
You can go to horror movies, we're just not doing episodes. But because you're coming on this, and it is Toni Collette, yes, we're doing it.
I reckon
but
it's quite cerebral horror as well. I don't think this is a splatter film. I don't think we're getting arms and limbs and.
I hope not. I think
Yeah,
that's
what I want.
The most scared I ever was in the cinema. Two movies. One was The American Ring. I was completely petrified and
Watts,
thrown
yeah.
off because I
a great remake.
didn't know what The Ring was, and it had a 15's rating, so I went in no big deal, and basically came out crying. And the second one I found really terrifying was The Orphanage, which is by the director who made Jurassic World.
Yeah, that's one of the all times. When I saw that,
So scary.
so perfect, so
Yeah.
perfect.
So
We've
good.
watched that so many times.
I was listening to the podcast about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and I actually felt like it was a massive film in two halves, but the second half, you could see the horror director trying to get out.
Yeah.
There were scenes in that, I was like, this is not for 12-year-olds.
No, it's
The
complete
teeth,
horror.
the 8-year-old child, the gnashing teeth. I was like, this is proper horror movie now. We've got into a horror
Actually,
movie.
funny you bring that up because we mentioned at the start of our Jurassic World review that it felt like a horror movie, and then we kind of forgot to elaborate on it. But yeah, it was the ending. It was the last couple of scenes,
Yeah.
but didn't work in the context of the movie. But
Just
yes,
tonally shifted massively, didn't it?
no.
Oh my God, we're reviewing Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom again.
And we
We've
need to go.
slipped into the last episode.
Also, we haven't
We got-
explained that normally, if you're new to the podcast, it's Dave and I walking to and from the cinema. Obviously, today we have a special guest, and instead of walking to the cinema, we're sitting in the bar of a cinema, and
Yeah, sometimes we cheat.
sometimes we cheat.
We got here. We didn't make Alex come to our house and then walk to the cinema. We just decided to meet him here.
But
all right,
I've just had a large glass of wine, so I think that might help dull my senses a little bit for this.
I don't think dull your senses,
Yeah.
or make you more terrified.
Wine
right?
makes me very sleepy, so I don't think it'll make me more
Oh, Kathy's
terrified.
not going to last at all.
Yeah.
All right, come on, let's head in.
Okay.
We'll see you in a
Okay,
bit.
cool.
It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious. My mother was a very secretive and private woman. It's Grandma. You know you were her favorite, right? Even when you were a little baby, she wouldn't let me feed you because she needed to feed you. She was a very difficult woman, which maybe explains me.
I recognize you from your mother.
What?
Sometimes I swear I can feel them in the room.
Okay, so wow, we just got out of Hereditary. We're walking Alex home. That was I feel like we're all a bit sort of muted.
Yeah. The cinema was completely silent for that whole movie.
It was it was really tingling. There was a great atmosphere in there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he had us in the palm of his hand. That writer director. Like, you could just like. Everyone was just curled up. I was scrunched up in my seat.
Yeah.
Like,
I think there was enough moments in the film that led you to believe something big was coming, and that was good about it, because I definitely felt that it was a long film, so you definitely wanted to think something's happening, right? We're going to get somewhere, and it delivered something at the end there. I won't lie to you. I was like, that is an idea. That is
it had an ending. We'll say that. We won't say anything more for now. But I guess, Kathy, how do you feel? How do you feel? Are you all right? You were a bit sort of clawing at me.
Well, for large parts of the movie, I just didn't look at the screen because I felt like jumps were coming, and I don't like jumps. But okay, first of all, I completely understand the comparisons to The Exorcist. I get it. I really enjoyed the performances. Gabriel Byrne did not know he was in this movie, and I'm a big fan, so I enjoyed him. And then I was thinking, because this movie was a bit long, he looks like the priest from The Exorcist.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Was that intentional? Like, they look like the same person. And then the teenage...
Also, Gabriel Byrne has been in Stigmata and that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, End of Days, which also...
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of End of Days.
Had to do with exorcisms, right?
And so I enjoyed him in this. And then I really enjoyed the teenage boy, Alex Wolff, who we saw recently in Jumanji, which is a movie that we both really
that's where he's
enjoyed.
from. I kept saying, who's that guy from?
Yeah, it took me halfway
He was
through the
great.
movie. I just turned to Dave and went, Jumanji!
Yes, you did.
And
then all these elephants appeared.
Yeah, and then this young girl, Millie Shapiro, who I haven't seen before, but I thought she was fantastic.
She was cool.
She was really cool.
So I read that she was, she's got a Tony for her performance as Matilda, and she's not like that kid at all. She's like a stage star. So
Right.
the performance pretty much across the board from that kid was incredible.
Yeah,
To
she
go
was
from
incredible.
Matilda to that, it's like...
Yeah, it's impressive. But yeah, so do you know what? I'm a little bit disappointed because this is my kind of, once every 2 years horror movie that I might go to, and I wanted to be like completely terrified. Like, if I'm going, I really want to commit. And I was waiting to be terrified, and I think almost the anticipation, like you said, the director was kind of promising me that I would be terrified, and in the end I wasn't, and it all fell apart. But we'll talk about that in Spoiler Street. So I'm a little bit disappointed.
Oh, really?
I wanted at least once or twice to actually scream out loud, which is what I expect from a horror movie.
I feel like we're going to disagree on this.
But
Alex,
I enjoyed it. I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's only because I had such high hopes, and I think it's a very good movie.
did you think it lived up to all this acclaim?
Oh yeah, I think it's a really good movie. I'm slightly disappointed that I didn't jump out of my seat at any point.
It didn't deliver for you.
It didn't deliver on the promise of intense horror, but albeit
You were terrified. You were scared. You
But
wouldn't
I was
look at the
terrified.
screen. You were literally like grabbing my hand every 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I was excited because I was waiting to be really scared, and then that never happened. So it was almost like my imagination of what it was going to be delivered more for me than what it ended up being.
But isn't that the experience of being scared? The anticipation of it?
Yeah, but I want both. I want to anticipate and then have it deliver.
Okay.
But anyway, Alex, on to the professional.
Alex, what do you think?
I have similar feelings. I think it's certainly a brilliantly put together film. Pacing's very strange, and I definitely felt it knew it has this big ending, so that's fantastic. But I did feel it dragged to get there.
Yeah, it did drag.
And when slowly the pieces start to fall into place, you could have done that in 25 minutes if that's all it is. And I thought there were too many moments where they'd set something up and then it was just discarded just to suit the suspense and the narrative without actually being integral to the film.
Yes, Chekhov's knife chopping tomatoes.
Yeah, I thought that, and all the model houses.
Slow down, everyone.
Yeah. The model houses, I'm still wondering about the allegory that's trying to be.
I thought it was going to like turn into The Miniaturist all of a sudden. Have you read that book?
Oh yeah,
I was
I've heard
waiting
of
for
it.
some miniaturist action, and then that kind of never came to anything.
So, would you recommend people watch?
Yeah, because as a horror fan, like I watch a lot of bad horror films. Horror films are notoriously usually quite bad films, but usually they're reprieved by one moment of intense insanity or magic or something, and that film definitely had moments where you go, you're not going to forget this moment.
Yeah.
Look what I just did there. Weirdly, some of the bigger things that happened in it I actually felt flat because the trailer had given a few things away, but there were some great little moments in that film which I will treasure and file away under how can I repurpose that for something I might do in the might do coming forward. Yes, of course.
Interesting. I feel like I'm a lot warmer on this film than you guys. I thought it was like absolutely brilliant. I feel like that was like absolutely masterful. I was like hooked the entire time. I think it fell over at a few points for me, and I think we'll talk about that in spoiler free. But overall, I thought that was just genius. I really, really, really dug it. I thought he's got.
You dug it?
I dug it. I dug it, dude.
Thumbs up.
I dug it. Thumbs up. It's
Dude,
a rip riot.
It was tubular.
They should put that on the poster. I dug it. Dave Corkery.
But I think let's get into details here. I think I would recommend it. Sounds like you guys would.
Oh, I
absolutely recommend it.
Yeah,
so totally recommend it. Just maybe temper your scare expectations a little bit.
That's a good point. I think it might not. I think if you're going to this movie expecting a sort of jumpy thriller roller coaster scare fest, which is a term I've just made up, I don't think you're going to get that. It's very slow.
I was more scared by a trailer for a movie we saw. What was that trailer? With the guy from Stranger Things.
Marrowbone.
The Marrowbone.
Yeah,
that
the story
looked
of the Marrowbone.
petrifying.
That did look good, yeah.
So there's a guy from Stranger Things and the guy from... Right now I'm just wondering. From that movie with Viggo Mortensen. Captain Fantastic.
Yeah, he was... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that looks really
That's
scary.
a good movie.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
We're slipping into another review.
We're slipping
now.
into another review of the trailer. But
all right, let's...
recommend it now. Turn off if you haven't seen it, because do not listen to spoilers for this movie if you haven't seen it. This is a strong
we're all
warning.
saying go see this movie, and I think go see it in the cinema, because I think as Alex said earlier, this is a good, horror movies are great in the cinema, and this is a great one with an audience, except that people kept fucking opening the door behind us.
The light kept coming in.
That was really annoying.
Sorry, everyone, cinema, you shouldn't have such a bright light when a door is open, because usually what cinemas have is there's a door open, then there's a little bit of darkness, and then there's another door. Yeah. But every man is just straight into it.
But it really broke the tension quite a few times.
Okay,
all right.
Spoilers
so we're spoilers now for Hereditary. Let's not go to the ending yet, but we've got so much to say there. There was a few things where it fell over for me, and as I said, I thought 98% of this film just really worked. I loved his eye. I thought there were some really amazing visual cues in here, like the red light in the barn that kept coming on, and you see it reflected in his eyes.
And then there was a red light to the top right of the screen that looked just like
yes,
it.
Oh my god, that was freaking me out.
That freaked me out too.
That was freaking me out. Yeah,
it was like 4D. We're talking about our screen had a weird red light.
Yeah.
There a few
4D
things
for 2D prices.
I'd like to talk about what didn't really work for me. The whole sort of ghostly, the way he imagined the ghostly spirit as this sort of reflective blue light.
Yeah, like a laser you'd imagine like a 9-year-old in the 90s would have had.
Yeah, that felt, it also reminded me a bit of Donnie Darko or something. It felt, like that.
Yeah, it had that sort of time travel wormhole type.
Yeah, that's what it was calling back for me. But that felt like almost it was from a sci-fi film. It wasn't quite scary enough.
Yeah, it was a little bit hokey, wasn't it?
That didn't really work for me. And also I loved how the movie delivered it's storytelling. It doesn't really tell you much for the first 3/4 of it. It's very much, you pick up that there was a mother, that she's a spiritualist. Like, the visual exposition is very, very well done, and it's very lean on it's very good on a show don't tell. But until you get to the end, and then
That was so prescriptive, the end,
wasn't it?
I was
That's
like, we get it, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Toni Collette, we're on this journey with Toni Collette where she's in the attic, she's looking in the books, she's like, oh my God, it's the same woman, it's the same rug, and yet like, we get it. And then Gabriel Byrne shows up and she tells him everything we've just seen for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And
but
she's
then-
like, look, Gabriel, the
Part
book.
of the joy of that was that, to be fair, like it's very cleverly unravelled. It appears Toni Collette not only had an incredibly traumatic childhood in that her father, for reasons we will find out at the end, and brother had horrific deaths, and then she clearly had some sort of like postpartum psychosis, and also during pregnancy really didn't want to be pregnant. And then apparently when she had a daughter, her own mother tried to breastfeed the daughter, judging by the little miniature thing she was making.
Why would you
That
make
was
that miniature?
terrifying.
Well,
It was
all you need to
terrifying.
do is whittle my mother's breast.
So
okay,
weird.
fine. That's something.
guess it
else.
was her way of dealing with things.
Toni Collette had a lot of weird shit going on.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy at the end when she's figured it all out and she's trying to explain to Gabriel Byrne. Like, there's always this kind of MacGuffin-y thing in a horror movie that if you destroy this, like the tape or in the ring or whatever, if you destroy this, we'll all be saved. And she explains it all to Gabriel Byrne, and we totally think he's going to do it. And then he just goes, "You're crazy. I'm done with you, and I'm calling the police." And then he dies 2 seconds later. And I enjoyed that. And I think they needed the scene of her explaining it to him for him to just go, "I'm done with your crazy." And
I
you
think
know,
that's the bit in the trailer that you were
I
referring
was
to.
so
that was
angry
really
when
good.
they
Yeah.
started saying that up because they used that one image, and as soon as I saw it, I knew who was in the image. I went, "Oh, I know what's going to happen here," and that broke me because I thought that scene was so building to something special, and then one little flashback. Bad trailer, boy. Bad
that's why I
trailer.
don't watch trailers. I never watch
No,
them.
but I hadn't seen the trailer either. But it's that's a very prominent marketing still.
Yeah, it's
That's
the still
in-
they've
yeah.
used everywhere.
Oh, is
yeah.
it?
of
Right.
her standing in front of a living room with a man set on fire.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, we knew how that scene was going to end if you'd even seen a picture.
But
of
we
it.
need to. I think we've skipped a little bit too far, right? So first of all, if you've got a son who we presume is about 17, and a daughter who's about 13, do they say?
Don't
and-
send them to the same party.
Your 17-year-old
She's
son.
really going to find people to play with.
And your daughter, right?
Don't send her if she's got a nut allergy. Send her with the EpiPen.
Send her
man.
with an EpiPen.
Yes. Well, and they went to the funeral without the EpiPen.
But
Why
they
did
established-
didn't bring it anywhere?
They established
Just leave it
very
in the
early
house.
on the daughter's very antisocial. I think supposed to be maybe intellectually like younger than her age. Because she's 13, she should at this point not be eating nuts if she's not supposed to eat nuts. And every time she eats, her parents have to go, "Are you sure there's no nuts in that?"
Because we didn't bring the EpiPen because
Yeah.
that lives at home.
Yeah, we don't bring the EpiPen out with us. I mean, like, we bring Calpol out with us, like we've got a baby. If your child's got a nut allergy, you take the bloody EpiPen. So I just, like, it was a little bit for serving the plot, not the characters, for Toni Collette to say to the son, who blatantly is going out to get high and drunk with his friends, yeah, take your 13-year-old sister, bye, I'm off to build my miniatures now. Like, no thought at all about, like, 5-year age gap.
I've got to really finish the detail on my mother's breast for the pivotal breastfeeding my daughter scene.
And then the daughter just gorges herself on what appears to be nut cake, right? And then,
I think it was the knife came across to the cake, didn't it?
oh, is that what it was?
So they see the same knife, but I thought that was it. I don't know if it had like just huge chunks of nut in it. I don't know.
It was just
Oh, is that it? Oh, is that it? So the
think-
knife had been...
Yeah.
Oh, we saw someone chopping walnuts.
Epic-
I
epic
just
nut
got it.
chopping.
Oh, right.
Oh, see, I didn't get the knife chopping walnuts because I'd already seen a knife chopping tomatoes earlier, so I was like, oh my god, the big climax is going to be something to do with knives.
There was
At
a
this
lot
point-
of chopping in this movie.
At this point, they've
there was
zoomed in on
there was
two
almost like
different
a
knives.
recipe video on YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, the daughter at the party was ridiculous, and then you know something terrible is going to happen in this drive home. But honestly, it completely
That
shocked
was
me what happened.
An
Shocking.
epic scene.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Epic
That's
scene.
amazing.
I yelped.
Where they forebode that with the pan earlier on.
Pigeon.
Well, no, the shot earlier on as they pass the car passes the I say it, yeah, the post. The car
Oh, and
passes
it's got the
post,
mark on it.
and it sets
Yeah.
out perfectly because you see when you come back to that exact scene, you're like, oh Jesus,
Oh, I didn't
that's
even get that. I
so
missed
foreboded brilliantly.
That must have been one of the scenes I was
Getting proper mental health care can help you feel more like you. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, insomnia, relationship issues, workplace stress, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can use your FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
Covering my eyes.
That's what they say. Call it.
But the post had the symbol on
Yeah.
it that the witches were using or whatever.
So basically,
did
for
that mean
anyone
they
who's
knew
listening,
that it was going to
all set
happen?
up.
It was
all set
all.
up.
Oh,
Someone
right.
had laid the little.
Does that mean they were chopping the
the
walnuts?
daughter had already been possessed at this point. So the daughter's body is already possessed because she's been clicking.
Oh, so
Yeah.
so Payman wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, Payman
Yeah.
wanted a boy. He didn't want a girl.
All right, he was like, nah,
and that's
this
why
Charlie.
they were keeping the girl like alive, essentially, so that spirit could move on at the right time.
And because she even said, "Grandmother always wished I was a boy," to which Tony Collette responds, "And she also wanted to feed you." Right?
But we all assumed at that stage it was like,
Bottle feeding.
yeah,
Yeah.
have a spoonful of mushy baby
No,
food.
I assumed bottle feeding. I wasn't thinking they were talking about a weaned child at this point. So yeah, that was all just. I mean, that was when I was really enjoying it. All that stuff, and then just like the same with most horror movies. By the end, it all unravels and just gets a bit too silly for me. It was like it never lives up to the promise, does it?
See,
Except for Alex's movies.
Are we gonna talk about the end then? Because I think we can all agree it escalated.
It did go so. I did feel there was a real issue with the film where too much weird shit was happening and people weren't reacting in the right manner. Gabriel Byrne would be like, Jesus Christ, what is happening to my family here? He just didn't break his cool. And you're like, in the space of a week, like half your family's dead and they've died horrendously. This is not something you just get over. And I think
And he's just like, take your shoes off.
yes. Remember your SATs exam? No, maybe comfort the kid and take the kid out of school for a year and leave the fucking godforsaken place you're in.
Yeah, you're like, listen, I know your sister just died and you basically killed her, but you need to do better in maths and you need a maths tutor.
See, I interpreted his reaction as some form of like extreme
Denial.
Irish Christian Catholic denial. Yeah, like I felt like that's exactly what his generation would actually
He wasn't
do
playing
in
an
all
Irishman.
these situations. Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't. He did an American accent.
He had an Irish accent.
That's Gabriel Byrne doing an American accent.
That is
Was it?
just
Yeah.
Gabriel
Him trying?
Byrne. I don't think he.
No, guys, he was just having an Irish accent. That was his Irish accent.
At his age, I don't think he needs to. He's just, I'm Gabriel Byrne. I turn up in a movie.
I'm playing
I do
Gabriel Byrne.
But speaking of his
I don't need
age-
the script. I'm Gabriel Byrne in this, right?
Speaking of Gabriel Byrne's age, Gabriel Byrne is 68 years of age. Tony Collette is what? 45 years of age. Why are they playing spouses with absolutely no commentary on the fact that he's that much older than her? That just annoys me constantly with any Hollywood movie, and it's just such a joke at this
No,
point.
I think that it's a prerequisite that if your film has any form of possession in it, then Gabriel Byrne has to be in it.
Well, then don't cast Tony Collette as the mother.
No,
Cast someone
because-
age appropriate.
Because she was in The Sixth Sense, so she has to be in this as well. I think this was just part of the package.
No, it just really annoyed me, and that's an aside, and it's just a ridiculous problem in Hollywood at this point. But
I'll
like, I
agree,
really
he-
enjoyed Gabriel Byrne. I thought he was fantastic, and I thought Tony Collette was fantastic.
I thought he was good as well, but I felt like he was miscast. Or not miscast, but because he played the role well. But did it need to be Gabriel Byrne? I don't know. What did he really bring to it? It felt like
to me, he brought. What was the last thing I saw Gabriel Byrne in? Was it In Treatment? No, I can't remember. That was what was going on in my head as I watched him.
yeah, he's a little too big for this, isn't he?
No, but you think that, and then I did spend loads of the movie thinking, but he's not really that big anymore. So this is a great role for him.
He'd do TV now. That's my guess.
Oh, he does do.
He
was
did
in
it. He did in
There you go.
treatment. Yeah.
There you go.
He did In Treatment, and he did a BBC show, which I quite enjoyed. Anyway, completely off topic. So the end, anyway. So the granny was possessed by Satan, and her life's goal was to get her grandkids possessed by Satan.
Well, I think she was trying to raise this demon from hell, and she needed this host, and it kept failing. And throughout these generations, they seem to be trying to find the male figure that could take on this possessed form.
You think she was doing it since, like,
She
her
was
husband?
the queen.
Yeah, the brother she tried to do it because
Yeah.
there's a throwaway line of exposition where Tony Collette says, my brother killed himself because he said my mother was trying to put people in him.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, I missed that.
Yes,
It was
that
in the grief counselling thing.
Oh, so you think...
Which
That
I
is
thought was
such
a
a,
bit...
that's so funny, that scene. She's doing it and she's just like, and this happened and this happened. Everyone's like, who the hell is this crazy bitch?
Dude, that was a really good scene. They're like, my dog died.
It's like, they were like getting over, obviously, like bereavement, but then she's like, yeah, my whole family is like possessed and a completely terrifying horror show.
Hill Payman.
As soon as Toni Collette met that woman at the grief counselling, I just turned to Dave and was like, baddie. That
Yeah,
woman's a
he
baddie.
knew baddie.
Yeah,
And then
you
Dave got really
called
annoyed
it.
at me because he said I spoiled it for him.
Well,
But it was so obvious.
I know, but that's how I knew you spoiled it for me, because the second you said it, I was like, yeah, well, that's
But
definitely
that's what I thought.
it.
The twists were too heavily signposted, so I thought it was incredibly obvious that woman was a baddie. Then I thought it was incredibly obvious that the so-called daughter spirit that they were evoking was actually a bad spirit as well. And then, what else? Now, I was surprised at Gabriel Byrne dying the way he did. But I think ultimately for me, what I found most interesting about it, this very rarely happens, is that like, it's like 4/5 of the way into the movie, the protagonist suddenly shifts. And it goes from Toni Collette being our protagonist, who's kind of trying to discover everything, to suddenly the son. And suddenly we're following the son and he's our hero. So I really enjoyed that. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I thought the son was going to be a background character the whole time. But then ultimately what happened with the son was just so silly that I couldn't take it seriously then.
I really didn't understand. The one thing I really struggled with was Toni Collette. Was she in on this the whole way, or was she?
Yeah.
Because by the end of it, it's like she was always going to do this. There was like this inevitability to it, and yet no one in that, like, the whole film fought against this thing. They all just went passively along with this narrative. Where I always love it in a horror movie when someone goes, "No, I have to fight the evil,"
Well,
but
I
everyone
think-
was just like, "Oh, it's just
I
happening."
think Toni Collette was fighting it. I think she was just being manipulated.
But do you think
She
when
was
she
being
said
prank-called by
she
the-
said that she tried to, like, every possible way to miscarry him when she was pregnant, and also in her sleep had tried to kill
She
him.
knew this thing was coming.
Yeah, I think she was
Yeah.
trying to protect him from the spirit the whole time, and that's why she was trying to kill
Subconsciously,
his body so that it wouldn't be possessed. But when he was possessed, and now I think this guy's a really good actor, but when he was possessed, first of all, there's a fucking brilliant scene, Alex, that you have to copy in one of your movies, where and maybe this is another horror movies, and I don't watch horror movies. He's like looking in the mirror and the mirror is smiling back at him, but
Yeah,
he's not
nice.
smiling. That was one of the really scary bits.
Oh my god, I've had a recurring nightmare of that exact thing.
Really?
Yeah,
It's weird of you.
for years I've had that. Hail Payman.
And then at the end they put a crown on his head and all these like old flabby naked people were bowing down to him. And
I've had that
and
dream as well.
Why was Toni Collette like at one point just like up on this? So he's in the attic. She's trying to get into the attic. Next minute she's in the attic up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
That's Payman got snuck in through the other exit, I guess. I don't know. We don't have to think of the
just,
logistics.
I wasn't scared
of
after
how
that
she got
point.
in.
After that point, I was like, "Oh, this is silly," and I didn't turn away from the screen or
She
feel
probably
scared.
crept in when he was distracted by the glowing embers of his former grandmother's corpse. I mean, the mere fact we're trying to unravel the sort of minutiae of this movie.
But did you think so, Dave? You were like the most keen on this movie. Were you happy with the ending?
I will say, the ending was batshit, but I think it was great. It was weird. It landed for me. However, I did like this film. I thought it was brilliant. I was hooked throughout, and I think this writer director is a like total rising star. But we've kind of hit on it a little bit already. The plot isn't entirely original. I feel like clearly you guys predicted all the plot points ahead of me.
It has a real.
But I've seen it before.
Yeah, it has a real mix of original moments and huge cliches, and that's what I found really strange. That as the film went on, like the naked pagan cliche and all those sort of things, and then it had some. I mean, the scene when Toni Collette is in the attic, sawing her own head off, is amazing. I was
good.
just like, okay, you've done that. That is
The
that's
sound,
scary.
the
Yeah,
sound
so
of it.
good.
The sound
I was
design is
like-
very good in this.
I was like, that is a visual treat.
So there's surprise. The movie surprises you, but the plot doesn't.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Because the daughter dying was a surprise. Maybe Gabriel Byrne dying a little bit of a surprise if you hadn't seen the trailers or the pictures. But the
Daughter
plot
dying in the way she did to me was completely shocking.
that was hugely shocking.
yeah.
But the plot largely plays out exactly as you predict, and as you can anticipate this stuff way ahead of time, and it's largely signposted. Like we said, the grief counsellor. My brother killed himself because my mother was trying to put people in him. You're like, and she's into spiritualism. I think I can kind of see where this movie is going to go.
Oh, you have an embroidered rug. My mother had an embroidered rug.
Yeah.
Like, really, is that the best we can do in terms of linking these two women together?
And it also feels a lot like, I think, the Paranormal Activity series, I would say.
Yeah.
Very different execution, but same exact kind of plot.
Why do you think they all had to be headless? What was with that?
Yeah, that's just a thing in the. That's just like one of those tropes that movie wanted to have. I didn't feel like they explained that really well at all.
Oh, Payman likes males and he likes them headless. That was in the text probably.
And so at the end, when the son, which I thought was completely silly, had the paper crown on his head, and then he had like that stuff around his nose. Was that from the original? That must be from the original imagery of Payman, that nose thing, because otherwise it was weird looking.
Well, that was his broken nose bandage, wasn't it?
The exposition at the end of that film was so unnecessary. Put the crown on his head, end it. You've done it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm now going to explain who you are and what your purpose is. And that deeply upset me because it's just like, this film had treated the audience with so much respect and it had forced the audience to make so many assumptions, and eventually we'd all got there and we're like, okay, we've got there, this final great act comes along, if you like that sort of thing. And then it just says, "Oh, I'm going to explain it to you as well." I was like, "Come on, man! You've done so well in creating such a suspenseful, strange movie." And then it was just, I wonder if the studio just went, "And you now need to tell them exactly what happened."
Guys,
like when they added the voiceover onto Blade Runner. That's what it is.
It's the final cut.
Necessary.
There was an executive like, "Okay, guys, I think the movie's great. We've really landed it, but what number king is Payman in hell? Is he number 8? Maybe he's number 7?
We need to tell them we've done our research. We've read the 101 guide on pagan death demon gods.
We got all this great stuff. We're going to need to set it up for the prequel. Payman Begins.
Do you know what would have been good though, actually, now that I think about it? So we meet the daughter when she's already possessed. So, I mean, she's terrifying, this child. It might have been good to maybe see her before that, because I didn't get that she was possessed until the end, but maybe that was the point.
Was she possessed the whole time? There was no before?
Well, because we met them when the grandmother was already dead and the daughter was already completely bonkers, like sawing heads off birds and shit. So I think, yes, you can assume the daughter was possessed.
Stop
from
trying
the
to
moment
add
we met
more
her.
to this movie.
I'm not trying to add more. She was possessed all the time we saw her, hence her wild shenanigans at the party. And then she's like, when she was like in the back of the car, like in shock, and I know I keep talking about the scene, and the brother's like going 120 miles per hour, and she sticks her head out the window. It's like, oh my god, it was such a good scene. But yeah, I think by the end you can't take the scares seriously when it's like Toni Collette in a city nightdress sawing her own head off. It's just like, right, okay, here we go then. That's actually not particularly scary.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the coven of witches, their plan. So their plan was
we're
like,
going to stop now while I order a new
got
drink.
a nut allergy, so we're going to chop some nuts, then she's going to eat the chocolate cake, then she's going to come back and stick her head out at this exact point.
Yeah.
Which we know the brother will drive really fast because he'll be high.
And then we'll put the deer in the road. Boom.
Yeah.
He won't go left though.
Easy.
He'll go right.
Exactly.
That's the big. You better go right. You better go. You can see them all just naked.
And then while this is
bush,
happening, you dig up the mother. All right. Have you got this? You go dig up the mother. Put her in the attic. Come on, we've got this. Has to happen exactly like this.
What I thought was really, I felt like it would maybe be true to the situation, because they established that the brother smokes a lot of weed, so he's like quite paranoid and stoned all the time. And he crashes the car, or he knows his sister's flown out the window, and he just sits in the car.
Oh, that's a beautiful
That was
moment.
an amazing scene.
powerful.
And he's just like...
Director King moment, that
Yeah,
was it. It's like,
that
I'm
was
just going
amazing. 'Cause
to
I
sit
kept
with the guy
looking-
all night.
I kept looking away and looking back because I was afraid something was going to happen, and every time I looked back, it was still just sitting there.
But the confidence of it, he never shows us the body.
Yeah.
Or for ages.
Until we get the headlight in the morning.
Flash
Next
to the
morning.
head, and
Also, he comes
that's
home,
shocking.
Goes to
That
bed.
was brilliant.
And just because he's in complete shock. But then, why was the head in the house in the morning? I would have thought the head was back in the highway.
No, it was
somewhere.
back in the highway.
I think it was just the cut was.
Okay, yeah. And
But I
then
mean-
he just goes back to school again, which I thought was actually genuinely true to life, because to a teenager, he couldn't be at home because his mom's completely bonkers. And what else is he going to do? You're a teenager, so he just goes to school.
I just think he'd need serious counselling. I think there was a few moments where it's like, this is too much for a kid to just go back to
Yeah.
normal life. How is this family trying to maintain normal life?
But I guess I think you're right, but I think it makes sense in the context of the movie, because he has a mother who lies about dealing with grief. She says she's going to the movies. and has to do it in
That
secret.
did make me laugh. Like if your child's been beheaded and your other child's basically kind of murdered them, and you're like, I'm just
you
off to
can't
the
be
flicks.
seen going to grief counselling.
Yeah. I'm off to the cinema.
You got to go to the latest Adam Sandler movie.
And Gabriel Byrne just buys it all. Okay, cool. He never asked her about what
What's
movie.
she seen?
Yeah.
That bugged me so much. What did? Oh, just the movies.
Avengers, a Marvel movie. It was always a Marvel movie, right? So
It's one of
it was
those
a
Marvel
movie.
things. I mean, that would never fly in our household because I'd be like, "Excuse me, you went to the cinema without me." That would be like tantamount to cheating in our household.
So that and she like dealt with her grief through the miniatures as well.
Yeah.
And Gabriel Byrne refused to ever confront or deal with grief. So it kind of made sense that the boy was kind of trapped between.
I mean,
these.
would you want to be in your house
these
if your
two.
mother, if you kind of were complicit in your sister's death, and then your mother makes a miniature of the entire scene, including you driving the car and your sister's head being on the side of the road?
That moment, Gabriel Byrne saw that, you think, I would have lost my shit.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, what the
I like
you
when he
doing?
said,
What
I
are
need to
you
protect
doing?
my son from you, but then I'm just bringing him home now. And every time they went into the house, this was weird, because it's the house they've always lived in, you assume. Every time they go in, Gabriel Byrne's like, take your shoes off. I was like, you're talking to teenagers and your wife who's an adult here. Like,
I
if you-
think I
at
like
this
that
point,
though.
you'd have instilled the take. Like in our house, we take our shoes off when we go in. We don't tell each other when we
Yeah,
go
but
in
no,
the
but
house.
that's a good moment. It tells you a lot about his character.
But what? That he likes people to take
Well,
their
he's a
shoes off?
control freak.
Order,
he wants
order.
order, and
Yeah.
he
He's the
likes to
calming
tell
force,
people what to
isn't he?
do.
Nah, I didn't see it that way.
No?
I thought it was just like written for us, not for them.
All right.
Yeah.
This feels like a weird note
It
to end
feels
it
like a
on.
weird thing to end it on. We've been standing waiting for
All
our
I would
Uber.
say is, I do find it strange that this is the what this. I often feel like horror doesn't get into the mainstream enough. Like you see the big blockbuster horror movies, which are the sort of fantasy horror movies, where the big effects and all the shout. To pick this movie as the one film this year that Hollywood go, this is the one we're all going to get everyone to watch, and we're going to back it, and we're going to put the biggest press campaign behind. It is batshit.
Yeah.
It's a batshit
Yeah.
movie.
bonkers. I
This-
did enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
you
quite
didn't
like
feel like
that,
it was
though.
a mainstream movie at all.
No.
By the end of it, so
No.
the pacing is wrong for a mainstream audience. The end is utterly like OTT and
Yeah.
surreal and disturbing and all these things. And you're sort of left with, someone in Hollywood is having a very big laugh at
I
us.
think is it A24 behind this?
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like they've got some very smart
Yeah,
producers behind the
They've
scenes.
done very
is that our
well.
Uber?
It is, but before we get into the Uber, Alex, you need to tell our listeners where they can find your movies.
Oh, okay. Well, I have 2 movies made. The Tour is available on YouTube. Just go under Screamfest and find The Tour.
Tour.
Yeah, and I'm
I
about
thought
to...
you were saying tort earlier.
Oh, The Tort.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horror movie about cake. No, The Tour, that's a ghost story. And then and then The Jitter Man is about to be released, probably on YouTube.
And I've seen The Jitter Man, and it's great. I was at the
thank
premiere.
you. Yeah, no,
Dave
it's
was
good.
at the premiere. I wasn't, sadly, Alex.
weren't
I wasn't
invited.
invited.
Everyone was
No, I was
invited.
joking.
It's all coming out
I think
now.
I was actually
Well,
very
you didn't
heavily-
know each other
I was
until
very
tonight.
heavily pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
But we should do a
All right.
Cinemile on your next movie. That would be awesome.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't be in it because you'd be slightly biased.
Yeah, no,
Alex, thank you very much for joining
that's
us.
okay.
It
It's
was
been an utter pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
In a strange,
I'm
I'm
glad-
not sleeping tonight kind of way.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Please let us know what you thought of Hereditary, because I know a few of you have already seen it. You've been talking to us. We're at the cinema. The Uber driver's
We're at
getting
the
angry.
Cinemile, the
We're
Uber
at the
Uber
Cinemile.
driver's
Facebook,
backing
Twitter,
away.
Instagram. Bye.
Yeah, I'm safe.
Bye.